Women Who Futures is the space to give visibility for women working in the space of futures and foresight, and really looking at how our different and intersectional identities inform the way we do futures and foresight. So it is with my great pleasure that I give the floor to Ingrid. She's the founder and director of the Afrofuturist Strategies Institute, and she will guide us, as I said, on the bending time through pleasure. Take us over, Ingrid. Welcome.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you so much for having me. It's morning. I think this is the first time I'm talking. The single life. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. I hope that everyone is doing well today. It's chilly here in Johannesburg, and so I have like a blankie on me because I'm in an artist loft with all cement. So wish me luck. In this journey. So today we're going to talk about pleasure and what does that have to do with futures, right? And so I'm going to first begin with a quick introduction of our journey today. We're going to start with some greetings, which is now. We're going to do a little Afrofuture dreaming. Then I'm going to get into the Afrofuture Strategies Institute, Afrofuturism. We're going to do an activity at the end, the last 30 minutes or so. We're going to kind of dive into my process, just a taste. So let's begin. First, I want to introduce myself. For those who don't know me, my name is Ingrid LaFleur. I also by Dr. Shiluva, which is my mythic name. I'll get into that in a second. I like to start off with my spiritual standing so that you have an understanding of where I'm coming from in terms of my theories and ideas, and how I approach the future. There's one thing that is really key, and I'm going to dive into that soon, is that Afrofuture thinking has you situated in a way that just really moves you outside of the paradigms set for you. And so I've been living that way all my life. I am a proud graduate of Spelman College, whoever's HBCU on the call, yay. And I went to get my master's of science in foresight at the University of Houston, and I just graduated this December. And foresight came about because I ran for mayor of Detroit in 2017. It was through that process that I was really looking at reimagining the economic system because it discriminates against Black bodies in the United States. And so that's why I got into blockchain technology and cryptocurrency. Emerging tech on a whole was part of AI think tanks around ethics. And then decided to marry my curatorial practice with my love for futures research and foresight work, and like decided to dive into this world of imagining our future. So I know previously Yvonne asked us to feel about the future, but I want to know very specifically, how do you feel about 2050? If you could just write in the chat, I'll just give you a second to do that. 2050 is an interesting time. It's a pivotal moment. There will be some shifts that we're anticipating. I'm wondering, what does that even look like? So if you could just write quickly how you feel about 2050 very specifically. Also, even if this is a repeat, I want you to just record for yourself what that looks like for you. The year 2050. So if you would write that down in the chat, that would be really great, so other people can see. And you can also write it for yourself. All right. So now we get into a meditation. I really love meditation as a way to center ourselves, and to really kind of move into another energetic space. So today, I want us to kind of dive into a very particular type of pleasure, and that is erotic pleasure. I want you to tap into the erotic intelligence of your body. So, if you would, please close your eyes and get really comfortable. We're going to take a quick little journey within our body. Excuse me. And let's take a deep breath in and exhale. And let's take an inhale, breathing in all the love surrounding us, all the positive energy. And exhale all fear and doubt. And one more time, inhale. Bring in all that deliciousness of love, sensuality of life. And exhale. I want you to imagine a crush, a person you're attracted to. Imagine that thing that they did or said that kind of turned you on and made you feel giddy. If it's not a person, maybe it's a thing that you do or an item of clothing that you wear, like silk or cotton against your skin. Feel those textures, feel the wave of excitement. Let it gather and let yourself be turned on. And let that energy just kind of spread throughout your body. You can feel it in your fingertips and your toes. The excitement is traveling up your spine, into your crown chakra, the top of your head. Maybe it's coming down into the throat area, into your heart. Feel the energy move through your body. We're gonna just hold on to that excitement and let yourself be turned on. I know it might be a little early for this, but hey, it feels good. It feels delicious. Let's grab onto that. When you're ready, I want you to open up your eyes. Oh, how did that feel? I want you for yourself, and you're more than welcome to share with others. I want you to write a scenario of the future. It's 2050, and 1 in 4 people are African. The youth population has grown. The African diaspora has spread. What do you see? Where do you live? What does it smell like, feel like in this future? I'm going to give you a couple minutes to journal, write that down. If you are feeling moved to share it in the chat, feel free to do so. And also note, with this feeling, this erotic feeling moving through you, did anything shift with your relationship to the future? That I would love to know. Hmm. The future feels a little sexy, doesn't it? So, this idea around the erotic comes from Audre Lorde, who is a writer, feminist, mother, warrior. She wrote this essay, Uses of the erotic as power. This is an amazing essay. You can find it online. But she really gets into how the colonial state and the legacy in which we live in, of that mindset that we should not be feeling, we shouldn't be too emotional, that we need to constantly disconnect. And that disconnection leads to a disconnection from ourselves, others, and all living beings, in our actions, how we engage. So she's telling us to reconnect, because now we can feel when we reconnect. And when we reconnect through the erotic, this almost forbidden feeling, then we are in our deepest, most rooted place to kind of conjure another type of action, another type of engagement, another type of connection. When I was in grad school, I wrote a paper about what it means to be a leader, using the erotic power. Needless to say, it was a beautiful challenge. But I think that when you start with the groundedness of that feeling, I will say for myself, I would always push that feeling aside because it was like distracting, right? And I think it's because we don't know what to do with it. It's so powerful. It's so overwhelming. It feels so good. I'm still turned on. um, and it's so internal, right? I don't even have to tell you what turned me on. I can just be turned on, and you don't really know that. But what you feel is good energy. You feel a presence. The erotic does require a particular type of presence so that you're feeling it. And if you don't want to feel it, then you have to question what you're doing. If you don't want all your senses to engage in it, then why? What is that thing that you have decided to open yourself up to? So this is a bit of the work that I do at the Afrofuture Strategies Institute. After going on this long journey in the Afrofuture and then diving into emerging tech and foresight, I decided to bring all of my loves together in this beautiful vessel. And the Afrofuture, um, wait, before I get into that, I have another question for you. What does the Afrofuture mean to you? I think a lot of people have different relationship to it. If you don't know, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to answer, of course. But if you have an idea, you have a relationship, please add it to the chat. I would love to know. That would be really amazing. Um, and I think that, there are different definitions, and that's perfectly fine because it's an evolving cultural movement. It is, as an art historian, it is a pretty unique arts movement. Usually it would have ended by now. But because it's nonlinear, it actually predates the coining of the term. So the term was coined in the 1990s, but you can find Afrofuture thought and practice in our near past and ancient past. So it's a way of kind of helping you to gather information, a particular type of information, and one that allows you to dive into histories and practices that were pushed aside for a more colonial imperialistic agenda. And so we are bringing that back to center. One thing that I love about Afrofuturism, it helps you to create a healthy, loving, maybe even, dare I say, sensual relationship with Blackness. You can no longer define it actually within the Afrofuture space, simply because race is categorizes us to help divide us, right? So when we're talking about Blackness, we're really talking about culture. But it does center the desires, dreams, and challenges that those who are bodied face. And that is really thinking about the state on a global scale and on a nation state level. And so Afrofuturism really wants to give us a new narrative to pop us out of these narratives that are often given to us. And so it got me thinking, what are these artists? What is the thinking behind the art that's being created, right? We can find Afrofuturism in fashion and architecture, design, music, literature, just in everything, food. But what kind of mindset do you kind of have? Meaning, where are you kind of situated in your consciousness? And so I distill it down to many different principles, but here I just kind of pull out these three. They are nonlinear thinkers. I like to think of nonlinearity as jazz. And it is, thinking about the improvisation that happens by responding to another person, but needing to be very present in order to make that response, right? And then also understanding the rhythmic language in order to respond, right? So that then they understand it and can respond accordingly. So it's this call and response that's happening that does not adhere to any sort of rules or barriers or defined lines. Also, we're thinking about the multidimensional. We're thinking about multiple realities that can exist in one time. We're thinking about also how past, present, and future can exist in one space, especially when we think about the ancestors. And so Afrofuture thinking is very ancestral. We believe in the wisdom of our ancestors, which also brings us back into our indigenous space, which we all need to be connecting to and doing the research around, because within those indigenous spaces, we were very much connected to each other, all living beings, the earth, the cosmos, the water, the air. We have to come back to that. And that's the only way to create true balance and harmony, especially when we're considering climate change. And then, of course, pleasure filled. This part I think is really important, even when we are considering simple pleasures like drinking from my Dinkinesh cup. um, sunrises for me give me the deepest pleasure. I'm always in awe of our world, and I like the things that kind of remind me of that awe and that beauty. Um, Also, like cooking for myself and having a glass of wine is really awesome. These things give me joy as I read the news and have to deal with the overwhelming feeling that I can't act, that I can't stop illogical things from happening. I can't stop the pain. I can't stop the war. And so I definitely believe that having this more pleasure-filled mindset, choosing optimism is the way to kind of protect your peace so that we can do that other work. Again, now we're going to combine this erotic and the Afrofuture. And I just really wanted to kind of um, return back to the erotic as power as we move into the Afrofuture strategy. So we're taking both of those elements of Afrofuturism and Afrofuture thinking, combine it together with the erotic. So what are the Afrofuture strategies? One, you believe that you're already liberated. So for those of us who are marginalized, racialized, um, of the global majority, uh, we have to be in this mindset that we are already liberated. It has happened. We've already won. Okay. And we have to feel that liberation and we have to express that liberation. Quickly, Sun Ra, who is a jazz musician, um, gave himself the name Sun Ra, influenced by ancient Egypt and spiritual practices, and said that he was from the planet Saturn. He wore regalia. His music was to transport his people back home to Saturn. He lived his myth. By living his myth in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, he pierced through the oppressive narrative that was laid upon him as a Black man. And so this is what I'm asking you to do. This is the power that I think that Sun Ra was trying to remind us of. And so that belief system, feeling it, expressing it in your daily life, no one can control that. You have full control over that. Now we have to fuel that liberated state. And we fuel that through many different things, but I love how the erotic can really kind of open you up, stimulate the imagination, which allows you to understand the many possibilities, solutions, approaches. And hopefully then you'll take the risk and experiment, but in a way that is not going to harm people. And then you will manifest. And that's the beauty. That's the culmination, and hopefully that is a reflection of that liberated state that you began with. So TASI, the Afrofuture Strategies Institute, helps you achieve and maintain a liberated mind, body, and spirit. And so we do that using the Dinkinesh method. I created this during grad school at University of Houston. And it's because I was a little bit concerned about the process in which we're imagining futures. As a Black-bodied person, a racialized person, the systems kind of behave in a different way just for us. And usually I love the attention, but not in this system, in this way. And so thinking about, we can't make these assumptions about futures. We have to really understand how they may impact different people. Dinkinesh is a person who was born 3.5 million years ago in what is now Ethiopia. She is our mythical mother, and I do believe that we're all returning back to her. And so the method It speaks to her name as well, which is it's Amharic, and it means you are marvelous. And so this method is really just kind of a love journey, if you will. And it's Dinkinesh, the mother, kind of holding you as you kind of face some things that might be triggering or mentally difficult to grapple with. The challenges of knowing your biases, right? So Dinkinesh is there for you. So the method is divided up in 5 different portals. You have a living myth, and this is where my mythic identity, Dr. Shuluva, comes from. She is here to help you bring out your mythic power. And guide you in that. She lives off of raw food. Her ancestors are Mary Magdalene, uh, and Lilith, and many other very strong warrior women. Um, and and so this is where we kind of create that mythic identity that will break you out of those oppressive narratives that you've been telling yourself. No, so this is the thing. This is where this is key, that we are limiting our own imagination. We tell us what we can and can't do, what we should or shouldn't do. And so here, I'm telling you, you're completely free. And by creating a narrative outside of the state doesn't know this myth. Your family might not even know this myth, right? This is internal. This is for you to empower you. And then you have dark matter. And so from that state, this mythic state, you're now going to analyze different systems. For instance, the economic system around Blackness, we have to then think about racial capitalism. We have to think about necropolitics and how Black death feeds our economy. Uh, Horrible, I know, but we have to understand how it operates so that then we're not repeating it. So this is the second part of dark matter, is where we get to imagine something, right? The darkness is the infinite. We get to imagine another kind of economic system, political system, ways of living and connecting and engaging with each other, right? And so in cosmic magic, we are reclaiming those spiritual practices that have been sidelined, that you think are taboo. We are popping out of religion, respect to religion, but this is a spiritual space. This is a space that's going to ground you probably in a more animistic way, where you are really connecting with the living beings around us, the ecosystem that is thriving and pulsating around us, but also the different spiritual realms. This is where we also get into metaphysics. And think about the different spiritual practices of our indigenous ancestors. We're going to bring that and bring it nice into the center. And then in Ultra Destiny, I want you signal scanning. I want you to understand what's on the horizon, especially within the emerging tech and emerging science realm. Um, what is there, what can impact you, your family, your communities that you're members of, what is there? So that the practice of signal scanning is probably the most basic practice as a futurist that we have. And that is a ritual of sorts. We do this daily, for better, for worse. And this is why pleasure is so important, to really give us that foundation to dive into gathering these signals, because you're reading a lot of things that you might not want to know about. Ignorance is bliss. In Alter Destiny, we're bringing all the other elements together, and then we are going to create a new reality, a new kind of narrative for our futures. In the continuum, this is where we're creating our futures practice. What is this ritual to call that mythic identity? What is your ritual around futures research? How are you organizing the information, engaging with it, using it, backcasting with it? The continuum is the forever portal. And so this is expressed in a lot of different ways, and one of them is dream weaving with Dinkinesh. Um, is here we are doing 40 days of Afrofuture thinking. It's a self-guided online course that I've created, and it's 40 days because it's 10-day weeks. This is based on the sidereal calendar. So it's 2 spiritual days, 3 working days, 2 spiritual days, 3 working days. Um, each portal has a week. And here, it might sound overwhelming. 40 days, I know, but in actuality, I've broken up all the activities into these short daily prompts. It's more of a meditation and a journey than it is a course or a class per se. This is fun. And even if it's triggering, I make sure to plan a meditation right after that, to give you a little bit of a break, a mental break. The course is contained in the narrative of you being an Afronaut. So you are part of, you've been recruited by a space agency that has been contacted by the planet of Turia. The, the, the people of Turia, the Turians, they come from the Drexians, and the Drexians they come from the time of the transatlantic slave trade, when women who were pregnant would be thrown overboard and they would give birth underwater and created this aquatopia. This myth was created by an electronic music duo called Drexia from Detroit. And they said that their music were the sounds coming from that aquatopia. Well, the Drexians decided to leave the waters because they were fed up with humanity and also our pollution of the ocean. And so they went to the planet Grava 4. And so here I split the myth and I say that some of the descendants go to the planet Turia. Now, Turia is inviting us, and they've created space for an Earther community to exist. We have to send a proposal for that Earther community, and this is what that journey is all about. You building your proposal, but you have to show that you have actually kind of learned the lesson. You, meaning humanity, has learned the lesson since they know about how their ancestors were treated. They know how inhumane humanity can be. So the Elder Council has to accept the proposal. And so this is the journey, and this is the process. Really excited about it. When you take the course, you have it for a lifetime. It does shift and change. And so you can tap in, you can retake it, anytime you want. So how would you imagine an Earther community on another planet? I also do Afrofuture coaching for individuals, and this is something that I absolutely love to do. Once you're familiar with the method, we can really dive into applying it very specifically to your work in your life. I also make recommendations, like book recommendations and film and things of that sort, activities that I think would help open up that Afrofuture mind. And we, of course, revisit every time your mythic identity and the ritual around it, and your connection around that. And then, of course, I do these speaking engagements. I like to show how the method shows up, applying it in different ways. I think that non-linear approach is one of the trickiest things for people to kind of wrap their head around. And so I do have a conversation around that I've created. And of course, we got to talk about what it means for erotic leadership. So Afrofuture building, I have 2 sessions coming up. One is this Saturday, the future of housing. You can find out more on my website, and the other one is the future of erotic as power. And the Afrofuture world build, it is 3 hours. It might seem like a long time, but we never have enough time. I do a very short presentation at the very beginning on the topic, and then we jump into either designing an ancient future artifact or a newspaper article. Or it could be something else. It just depends. I like to be playful with it and change it every once in a while. You do this in groups, so this is a co-creation, and I like that, you know, futuring together. It can be fun. You learn from each other. It's an eye-opener. So today we are going to do a little bit of a taste of an Afrofuture world build. We're going to do the future of the erotic as power. I'm going to stop sharing here and just ask if there's any questions. Martin, you're like on the screen. Hi. Do you have a question?
No, I just turned my video on because when I speak, I like it. I like to see faces in front of me and not just, blank screen. So I was just trying to be
Hi.
present.
No,
That's
no,
all.
it's hard.
But I love it, listening, learning. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Ursula.
I don't have any questions. I just didn't anticipate that you'd be from where I grew up. And so I spent the first 25 years of my life in Detroit. And to hear, I didn't realize I'd be zooming in to home. And this just feels like coming home. So thank you.
Oh, good. Beautiful. I'm missing Detroit all the time. Anyone else? Rose, Nadia? Okay.
I'm curious, because I come like from my perspective in things like critical theory, especially in relationship to literature, and how a lot of those things I found from the Dark Fantastic, the book, where again the author is from Detroit. So I'm seeing all of these layers where we start to find these like through lines. And I'm so obviously always curious, like how this piece of Afrofuturism came into your work, and like how you're working on translating it to explore these stories in our own lives. I could be asking too large of a question for where you want to head, so feel free to answer this or not, depending on where you want the rest of the experience to go.
Sure. I'm not sure if I like understand your second question, um, in terms of the stories, but uh, um, I am, I've been in Afrofuturism since it was coined. Um, I I was in college at Spelman, and my brother, I'm an only child, but my brother was a DJ, a little older than I, playing music out of London. He was playing broken beat. So like, if you know Bugs in the Attic, if you don't, look them up and get your dance on. And so he went to Clark Atlanta. And so um, he knew about my kind of like esoteric way of being. I mean, I've been doing psychic fairs since I was 12. So he told me about this term Afrofuturism. From there, Dr. Alondra Nelson, and DJ Spooky, aka Paul Miller, and a couple others created a Yahoo group. And so then we started exploring what is Afrofuturism. And then it wasn't until I got back home to Detroit, which is a majority Black city. And you have someone like Dan Gilbert, who's aggressive in expressing his own ideas, future for the city of Detroit. And it just never goes right when a white man is deciding anything for us. So, so for that reason, I got into Afrofuturism and thinking about how to put it in practice. So I'm not sure about like the stories for me fuel the practice. And so this is why, during my coaching, I'll recommend very specific things that really are speaking to maybe something that you need, so that you can be inspired by the artwork, the story, everything, and then implement it and put it to use. Because Detroit was dealing with a high poverty rate, the imagination space was just not enough. It'll never be enough. Yeah, especially now. Especially now. All right, do we have any more questions? Because I'm going to share my screen again and pop you guys over to a mirror board. Tace, you're going to do breakout groups? All right. Yeah, okay. So we're going to break out into groups. I have 5 different groups. And I'm going to share. So the way that I like to start my world build is kind of pulling from culture, from Black culture very specifically, because we're Afrofuture. The Afrofuture types is a term that was coined by Dr. Lonnie Avi J. Brooks, and someone that I'm a big fan of, an Afrofuturist doing really amazing work based out of California. And so he wrote this article where he mentions Afrofuture types, and this is something that I've been looking for more intuitively, I think. But you know how you read something and you're like, yes. So this is a way to kind of start ourselves within the Blackness. I am hoping and praying that you have enough exposure to Black culture, that the groups will be diverse enough for you to kind of develop your own Afrofuture type. And so what is that? I have here, these are experiences and items inspired by Black people and the cultures they cultivate. You got to consider like the people, places, objects that generate joy and pleasure, that then laid foundations for future innovations. So an example of this would be Daughters of the Dust. It's an amazing film, written, directed by Julie Dash. It came out in the 1990s, if I remember correctly, and it was quite innovative. One, it showed a history around the Geechee Gullah people off of the coast of South Carolina in the United States. It showed them in elegance, with dignity. So that's number 1. Number 2, the way that it was shot, because a majority of the cast had darker skin, and film hadn't really been created to capture dark skin. It was created for white people, right? And this is, I think, a really good lesson in understanding how whiteness is just constantly centered in so many small parts of our lives. The nuance of it is insane, and only those of us who are racialized and pushed out of the whiteness can really feel that. But anyways, so his name escapes me. I almost said it. But he, the filmmaker, he actually, sorry, the person who was shooting, he actually created a technique to help capture the darker skin. So there was a technological innovation that happened at that time. Right. So you have this art piece that's really, really beautiful, that created a technological innovation as a result of its existence, that now is being used, that now is used to share other different stories and narratives, and visibly puts Black bodies in a particular type of light. So that's an Afrofuture type. what we're going to do with that Afrofuture type, I want you to first, for 5 minutes in your group, brainstorm. And then once you choose the Afrofuture type, I want you to answer these questions over here. And then after that, we will be taking that Afrofuture type into the future. Oops, sorry. Yep, here we are into the future. And we're going to go back into 2050. We are going to, I think we're going to have time to share the scenarios. So I'm going to break you out in groups. I'm going to pop around to see if you have any questions. I am going to put a timer for the first 2 exercises. And then, but leave you guys kind of broken out and trust that you're just going to move to the next one when I say it's time to move. And then you write your scenario, and then we'll share the scenario. And if you're feeling really of interest today, maybe you can dive into some Midjourney or, you know, some generative AI app and create images around your scenario. What we are looking for, just to circle back again to the Afrofuture type, we want this to be erotic. What is there within a Black culture? What is an Afrofuture type that might express the erotic? I have some ideas, but I kind of want you guys to figure it out. If you need some help, I will jump in when I bounce around. But just think about, okay, Black culture, where are the spaces where the erotic kind of comes out and has this kind of impact that moves, right? What did it change in that moment? Right? And then how did it move? So right now, though, we're just brainstorming on the Afrofuture type. I'm going to stop sharing and ask if you have any questions. Did we put the link in the chat already?
Here we are.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
are you saying that the exercise is about something with like music, literature, film, or is it a personality type? What are we doing?
Yes, it can be a cultural thing, not necessarily a personality. Oh, well. Oh, I see what you're thinking about. Yes, a personality type. A personality type, I think it can definitely apply in this scenario. But also, like, is there a food? Is there fashion? Is there music, art? Yeah, but there can be a celebrity as well. There's a couple that come to mind for sure. Any other questions? Okay, so we're going to break them out in groups. Awesome. Welcome back. I can't wait to hear what the scenarios are. It was fun actually kind of hanging out with the small groups during tiny lectures. Who wants to share a scenario? And if you could, like, when you share the scenario, just mention quickly the Afrofuture type that you started with. Okay, I'm just gonna name them.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
Rose, do you want to jump? Because we were on the as my young people with me call the struggle bus for a minute, but then as soon as we got off and started talking about things,
Yeah.
it got really fun, and being able to be uncomfortable was something we talked about right away.
because one of the members of our group wasn't comfortable, and he actually left, which then freed Rose and I to kind of dig into where we were. But I don't know if we got to our type per se, but did you have a type that you wanted to share, Rose, or should we just go to our final vision?
Well, we started with the discussion around different books, and we talked after about the singer Prince, the group Prince, and also the group Imagination music group, who are really comfortable with their bodies and also how to express their masculine, feminine energy. And so we then jumped on the second section where we talk a lot about liberating the body and also freeing the public space of gender norms. If you want to add something also.
Yeah. And then what we ended up with at the end was just kind of like an image of a place where wherever we were, we kind of recognized like where I am right now, it's really cold. And like 2 days ago, it was like 72 degrees, and then it like literally froze. And thinking about 2050, are we going to have bodies that are able to adapt and understand what's potentially possible, like when we were children, where you're just happy, you're like, something changed, yay. How can we become really adaptable and aware? So we wrote, you can read if you jump to group 1, but it was sort of like that, imagining it, that we could live in. Oh, you're there. Oh, so and I switched down to our synopsis. I'm all the way down. I jumped ahead. I'm again caffeinated, or maybe not caffeinated enough. But just the idea of, imagine being in like a dance club where 1 minute you're in a dance club and you're dancing with lots of people. And Rose found some pictures of some people. She pulled some pictures up, and I put together our notes into a narrative. But just imagine dancing on a dance floor anywhere we are, and one moment we're dancing, and the next moment we're diving into an icy lake, and that we're able to be alive really fully, and not just we're able to experience it fully and not just endure it. But yeah, that's what we came to. Not a fear of being confined to what we were yesterday, and be open to what we're learning from each other.
So by 2050, our bodies will be able to adapt to anything.
Exactly.
And
I'm
really
hoping for an exoskeleton, because I'll be like 75. I'm going to need that. Maybe I need an exoskeleton. But anyway, thank you. That was so much fun. Thank you, Rose.
That was really good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for that. I appreciate it. And I was going to say, if the billionaires have their way with immortality, we probably will get to this future. Awesome. And okay, thank you so much for that. Who wants to share next? We got about 4 minutes, so we'll split it 2 minutes, 2 minutes. Group 2.
I just jump in. We didn't really get our story finished, but I did want to talk about we chose the Rastafarian Afrofuture type, and we took some time going through the future types. That one I think would work best for the impact. We did try to do something in ChatGPT, write a little story. I'm just looking at it now. I wouldn't say it has the kind of thing that I would put, because it's not as what do you call it, broad as I would have liked it. Would have had to have time, to refine it, because it focused the story only on Jamaica as opposed to global issue, what we were trying to get to, the global impact of how Rastafarianism has kind of made the consciousness around natural food, natural living, Pan-Africanism, the fact that you even have white Rastafarians in Europe, etc. So there's a whole culture around Rastafari. But it does talk about in 2050 that while the world has food shortages and digital overload, Zion Heights is a beacon of self-sufficiency in 2050, living in harmony with nature and spirit, ideal food, solar-powered greenhouses, natural foods, aquaponic systems. Healthy living is the foundation of wealth. In the evening, we have drumming and Nibingi chants, and music is being streamed live performance to global audiences. So we're earning sustainable income through blockchain co-ops And economic well-being is redefined. No exploitation, only mutual upliftment. Yes, I agree. And we operate on barter and cryptocurrency systems. And the part that cracked me up is when it said under the sacred mango tree. So that one is, I've got to keep that one. Under the sacred mango tree. I love mangoes. Elders shared wisdom,
Delightful laugh from
guiding
her
the
when she read
youth
that
in
part.
meditation and reasoning. So that's it.
Awesome. I really love those so much.
So we are going to be in Zion Heights in 2050.
I'm there.
Given the food shortages and digital overloads.
I'm ready for it. I love Rastafarianism. That's really beautiful. Thank you. I appreciate it, Dr. Nelson. And the last group who wants to go and share with us this future we're going to close it out with. No pressure. Which one did you guys choose?
I
guess.
could. Oh,
Oh,
you
yes.
go.
Yeah, go ahead, Nadia.
No, you did. I love how you synthesized it. So take
No,
it
actually,
away.
Nadia
India.
was our synthesizer.
I like the music pun that you kind of made there. That was perfect.
Oh yeah, right. I'm
Um,
trying to. Where's we had chose Josephine Baker
Okay.
and then wrote it. I don't know if they can zoom down to the group 5 scenario. Nadia had kind of put the synthesis down there. Sorry,
we
I don't see it on
essentially
the screen.
Oh, yeah. We essentially realized that Josephine Baker's work as a performer really was able to subvert and resist against essentially oppressive forces, because her work as a spy is a perfect example of how historically she was able to challenge the dominant narratives by almost playing into them and then throwing it back in their faces. And so we realized that in a future, like in 2025, what if our ways of being, the pleasure that we take from performative and creative acts, could also be a way that we motivate our own forms of resistance? I think that's the in a nutshell version. But we could have probably talked about her and all of our ideas for hours.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. I'm so sorry, but we have to wrap it up and I gotta be on schedule, right? So thank you so much, all of you, for your future scenarios. This was amazing. Thank you, FaZe and everyone for Women of Future. And thank you so much for having me. This was amazing. I really enjoyed it. And I hope to see you guys in my near future. Much love. Bye.
Thank you so much, Ingrid. That was fantastic.